Hey everybody, so I'm going to work Louie today. I'm probably not going to be talking a lot because my plan, my hope, is to just pretty much jump on him. Of course, I'm going to do all my pre-flights and stuff first, so you never know. Just like the last couple days, I said I was going to get on, and of course I did get on yesterday, but didn't do a lot. But my goal for today would be get to a point where I can jump on and hopefully just have a real nice ride. I'd like to just kind of walk him around some, maybe trot. We'll see where it goes. But I'm gonna do the destination addiction stuff like I was talking about, which is basically just means not steering whatsoever. Um, and but what I was gonna say is I'm not probably gonna talk a lot because it's hard for me to talk and do like a first ride on a horse and kind of pay attention to both. So I'm just gonna do everything, and if I feel like I need to explain something, I will. But for the most part, I kind of just want to go through the process. And I think I've probably talked enough over the last month with this horse and all the other horses out there that you probably get a pretty good idea of what I'm doing. You might not need me repeating myself every time. So go ahead and do some pre-flights. That's all right. I got it real quick. Seems it might be a little bit stiff to each side, but he is giving. That's the main thing. So we can continue to work on those other things. But as far as safety check, pre-flight, whatever, I'm feeling pretty good about this so far. Love how quickly he finds that the relaxation, and he's actually staying here pretty good. He's found this, but a lot of the other days, he pops his head back up and starts looking around again pretty soon. He's just kind of staying there. You still awake, bud? All right, I'm going to start doing some disengaging. So that right there is why we do all that last month of work that we've done, is when he kind of had to move his feet right there and he got pretty chill about standing still. He's kind of like, okay, I know what we're doing. I never have to move my feet again. I just stand here for the rest of my life and I'll be calm. And then he's like, oh crap, I have to move my feet. And he kind of like came back to reality and blew up right there. Um, that was obviously very little. It wasn't a blow up exactly, but he still kind of spooked himself. And if he didn't have that last month's worth of tools of how to come back and be like, oh no, I know how to get back to this, that would have turned, if I had done that exact exercise 1 month ago today, that would have turned into him spinning around this arena and going nuts, and who knows what would have happened. And it probably would have been okay, but it wouldn't have been a good experience. And right there, he figured it out. He kind of, jumped a little bit, but it wasn't a big deal. That's why I like to do all this groundwork. There you go. Good boy. It's kind of funny. He disengaged on the right pretty easily, whereas from the ground he disengaged on the left real easy and not on the right very much at all. Or very well at all. And this time he disengaged on the right quite easily and not so much on the left. So I don't know, kind of funny. Good. There we go. Good boy. I was hoping those disengages would go a little easier because I wanted to kind of get to where I'm just walking freely on this horse, but he's kind of, you act like a colt, you get ridden like a colt. And a very inexperienced horse has a hard time doing these disengagings, and he's having a very hard time doing these disengagings. So we're going to work here until he can do these pretty well. And he's just immature. He's not trying to be bad by any means. He's not doing anything bad. It's just, I think he just doesn't quite know how to move his body. He's probably, his brain is connected to his muscles a lot more right now than has ever been in his life. He's used to being reactive, and now he's trying to be proactive because he knows what I'm asking, and he's trying to make his feet do what I'm asking. And so he just feels uncoordinated and like I said, like a baby. It just, again, not bad. Every baby feels that way because they have to figure out their feet. So no big deal. There you go. Good boy. Good. I'm just going to go ahead and bend him to a stop. Good boy. So it seems like nothing right there, but what just happened is I let him walk on a completely loose rein. He went into that fence because he wanted to go home. Probably was off camera. You probably couldn't see it. But I didn't steer him through the fence. I just let him turn. Of course, he turned back to the gate, which is exactly what I thought he'd do. Walked by the gate, just kept asking him to go because he wanted to stop at the gate. So he tried to slow down, made him go through it. And then when he left the gate, he could have turned here and turned either into the fence or around and gone back to the gate. But he didn't. He came all the way out here. Now I know this isn't down there, but I didn't have to drag him over here. He came over here and we get to rest. So we're not putting him in a position where if he got scared, he'd bolt all the way back to the gate. If he got scared at this point, he might move 15 feet, but probably not. He's still close enough to the gate that he's, where he wants to be. But he also got one iteration right there of learning that, okay, there's a little more pressure at the gate. And if you find someplace else to rest, you can rest. So it's kind of a win-win both sides. Good boy. All right. Now this is going to be the first time I've asked him to walk without starting disengaging. So over there, I disengage and then just kind of let him out into the walk. Since we're pointed at where he wants to go anyway, I think I'm just going to squeeze him up and just let him walk. Good. Just like in the groundwork, I want him just to walk off. No explosions. No explosions necessary. Just walk off. Now I'm just letting him choose where to go. If he wants to come all the way back to the gate, that's okay. And starting out, I'm not making a big deal about him being at the gate, but I am saying, hey, you got to keep moving. You don't get to rest here. But I'm not, spurring him big time, just kind of moving my legs. And then he kind of heads away from the gate. Very good. And then I'm just going to bend him to a stop. Excellent. That wasn't the best bend. Let's get a little looser. Good. All right, there's that little tension in his neck. So I'm just going to bend him both ways and get him back to that nice calm. There we go. Good. Big lick and chew. I think I'm probably more tense than he is, but good boy. You're doing awesome. Good. Now he kind of did that on his own. So I'm not going to make a big deal of it. When he gets over here, I'm just going to say, hey, you got to keep going. You don't get to, if you're choosing where you go, then we're going to work when we get there, kind of thing. And he's coming back over to this gate. So, and what I really, really love about this exercise, one of my favorite things maybe, is that it really gets you using your feet on the horse. Because how many of you watching this can relate to this? You get on your horse and you don't even want to touch your horse with your feet because they're just going to shoot off faster if you do, right? And so you tend to keep your feet off of your horse and you're pulling back. And you get into this habit, and it's a way of riding where your feet are off and your hands are pulling. Well, if you do this, and a lot of the reason for that is that you take your horse someplace it doesn't want to be, and it's constantly trying to drag you home. And so it wants to run fast and you want to slow it down. Doing this exercise, I'm allowing him to go where he wants to go and then actually constantly asking him to leave. And I'm forcing myself not to touch the reins. So I'm flipping that. He just walked off on his own. So I'm just going to say, cool, we can do work and go where you want to go. So now I'm not touching the reins and I'm using my feet a ton, right? Because he would like to stop right here. He would love nothing more than just hang out here because he thinks that's where we're done. So I'm getting tons and tons of time of driving him with my feet. Now we come back out here where I'd like to stop, and I'm just going to bend him to a stop. And he gets to learn that out here is where he doesn't have to do any work, and over there is where my feet go on. Good boy. So we'll do this process for, I don't know, usually takes a week or so. Good boy. Big sigh. Big release right there. And we both just, he and I both get more comfortable with this. I trust him more to go on a loose rein, like Traveler. It was about 30 days of riding. I'm probably at 60 days of riding now. Somewhere between 30 and 45 days of riding probably. is where I got to the point. Actually, that may not even be true. It might have been closer to 10, 15 days of riding when he kind of gave up on wanting to be at one particular spot in the arena. Now he just walked off on his own. So I'm just going to add some legs and say, okay, if you want to walk, then we got to do some work. Traveler after that time, like I said, now this was interesting. I thought he was going to stay away from that gate. He stayed away from it a little bit more than he did before, right? He's like, and here, even here, he's like, I don't know if I want to go right there because that's where all that pressure is. But he went anyway, so that's great. I get to use my legs more, which is a really great thing. And then I'm just going to bend him to a stop. So like I was saying, for Traveler, it was about, very good, somewhere between 15 and 30, 45 days, I don't know. Anyway, he gave up on wanting to be at the gate, and we could, at all three gates, at a walk, trot, lope, no, not using any reins essentially at all, just ride nice circles through the arena, and he would just kind of cruise, and he's still a baby. Sometimes he'd turn off on his own without me telling him to, but it wasn't like every time he's trying to go to the gate. In fact, by that point, a lot of times he's trying to turn away from the gate because he knows there's more work over there. Like right here, he's not going to the gate as much, right? He's like, oh, I need to go somewhere, but I don't think that's such a good idea. So it's fine. We'll just cruise around wherever he wants to go. And see, I'm not scared of him going into the scary part of the arena, right? If I dragged him down to that end, there's a pretty good chance he'd spook and try to run back to this end, and I'd have to pull on him. And now he's at the gate. I'm going to add some leg. But if he cruises down here on his own, the chances of him spooking from something are pretty small. And now their tracks are right there, and he's coming out here. So this is and look how low his head is. So what happens with horses is when their brain and their body are going the same direction, then their head's going to naturally lower. It's just kind of, all horses do it. If their brain is going a different direction than their body, their head's going to pop up in the air. That's just kind of a universal thing. So what that told me over there is that we are finally, so there's a saying that goes, I'm going to use a little leg here because he's where he wants to be. There's a saying that goes, first you go with them, then they go with you, and then you go together. And so this process I'm doing right here, this is me going with him. He can go wherever in the arena he wants to go. Pretty soon though, and I guess the second piece of that is then they go with you, right? So when he gets where he wants to go, I'm going to add a bunch of leg and say, no, you need to go somewhere else. And that's kind of the they go with you phase. Very good. And I might just let him come to a stop over here. This is a new spot we haven't really been in before. But you got to release. There you go. Good boy. So that's the they go with you, I guess. And then you go together. We kind of had a moment of that over there where his head came down. He wasn't heading toward the gate. He was just cruising out to the middle of the arena, and we were going together. So now I'm going with him because we're coming back to the gate. Now I'm using my legs, so he's going with me because he doesn't want to leave the gate, but I'm telling him to. Not with the reins, but with just saying, you got to go somewhere. And now we are going together. Very good. I might just bend him to a stop out here. Very good. And so what I'm kind of looking for in this, I'm starting to look for a place to stop because this has been a good day and I don't want to overload his brain. Clearly I'm not overloading him physically today, but I don't want to overload him mentally. This right here, where he goes ahead and walks on his own, that's what I want to see kind of disappear. When he stays at that point and says, no, there's no reason to go anywhere because, man, every time I get over to this spot, man, he just kind of starts kicking and I got to figure out some other place to go. And it's just silly. There's just no reason to do that. So when he can find that standstill spot without having to walk, that's when I'm going to be done on him. And it may take me an hour, but I'm starting to look for that point. But what you notice is I've barely touched the reins at all today. Certainly haven't pulled on him with both reins. I've only pulled on one rein at a time. Good boy. I might just bend him to a stop. He stopped on his own, but I'm still going to bend him. Good. And now he's thinking about it. He's not quite sure where to go. So if I get a good lick and a chew here, he walked off on his own. So Oh well. And this is also why I do so much of this stuff on the ground where I walk away. And this may be a hole in my groundwork because we didn't spend a very long time in the groundwork, about 3 weeks in the groundwork. So this is probably an existing hole in the groundwork that he's not really at the point where I can do all the groundwork and then walk back to the gate and he stays. If you notice, he always follows me over to the gate. And so this is why I don't like to let them follow me or encourage them. I go send them back to work. This is why I want to see them stand out in the middle of the arena and just not feel like they have to go anywhere, because if he can't stand here calmly while I walk back to the gate, how can he stand here calmly with me on his back? So, and I may go ahead and find a stopping point on this horse out there, because now the more I'm thinking about it, if I've got a hole in the groundwork, why would I expect to fix it from his back when I need to fix it from the groundwork? But this is telling me that, okay, that hole is something that needs to be fixed. And it's showing you guys, his owner and people watching, what's the purpose of being a groundwork Nazi, and there is a purpose to it. Good boy. So I'm going to go ahead and find a stopping point there. Love that he put his head down. Good boy. Good. He's still a little skittish in that transition between the ground and his back, like we talked about, but he did a really good job. I'm going to go ahead and loosen the cinch here so that he really gets the idea that, hey, the session is over away from the gate. And I'm super happy with that first ride. He was very, very safe, very predictable. He, even when he kind of strayed outside of his comfort zone, never shied at anything, or never even tried to pick up a trot, even when I was using quite a bit of leg over here and kind of making him go where he didn't want to go, and never got mad and threw a fit. So super happy with that as a first ride. And pretty much every ride for, as long as it takes, is going to be that until I'm able to cruise around the whole arena at a walk, at a trot, and pretty well at a canter. The canter is a little bit different, but pretty much at a canter too, without needing to use the reins. And then the cool thing about that is, once you get to that point, when you do decide to pick up on the reins, it's just the icing on the cake. You're not using the reins to make the cake. You're just using the reins to make, just make it kind of look prettier. Everything's working already. So I know it's seems like a slow way to do this, but I guarantee you that when, don't try to walk out this gate, dude. Step back over. Step up. Thank you. I guarantee you that when I'm riding around here at a walk, trot, lope, on a loose rein, and he's just cruising, I guarantee it's not going to seem like a slow process at that point, because a lot of horses never get to that point. All right, that's it for today. Thanks for watching, guys. See you next time.